If you're like me and you didn't consider yourself to be particularly spiritual before your awakening kicked in and all the weird and wonderful stuff started happening, then you probably did a ton of research hoping to find out what a spiritual awakening actually is. And probably, just like me, you didn't get very far. Sure, there is information out there, but it's all a bit vague. It says spiritual awakening is expanding your consciousness, it's a personal transformation, it's connecting with the divine, or it's releasing ego, or it's discovering inner peace. These are things that are associated with spiritual awakening, that much is true, but they don't really tell us what a spiritual awakening actually is. So in this video, I'm going to lay it out for you step by step. I'm going to explain what we are, what this environment is, and why that's entirely relevant when we're trying to understand spiritual awakening. And I'm also going to give you an overview of the 3 separate processes we go through during the spiritual awakening journey. But you might be wondering how I know all of this, so I should explain that I'm a channel for Source Energy and the Council of Light, and they've been teaching me about the spiritual awakening process and how our universe really works since the start of my own awakening a few years ago. And you can find out more about all of that in my channel trailer. I'll leave a link in the description. So before I launch into talking about the bigger picture, here are some of the major signs that you are having a spiritual awakening. Number 1, in the last few years, you've spent a lot of time doing deep inner work and sorting out your issues. Number 2, you've started removing yourself from toxic relationships. Number 3, you've gone through a period of time when you've needed to rest a lot or you've had a chronic illness. 4, you've made positive changes to your diet and your lifestyle. 5, you're seeing signs and synchronicities. 6, your ears are ringing or buzzing when there's no obvious medical cause. And 7, you've become deeply interested in spiritual topics and you've started doing a ton of research. Now, do these sound familiar? Because if so, you're almost certainly on the awakening path. Okay, so in a moment, as I promised, I'm going to share with you the 3 exact processes which you're going through during your awakening. But first of all, let's talk about what we are and what this place is, because it's important. Now, you've probably already come across the idea that you're a soul having a human experience, and that's correct. But what is a soul? Well, a soul is an intelligence, it's a mind. In our natural state, we don't have material form. We're completely energetic beings, and we exist primarily to learn. We are learning machines, and the way we learn is by incarnating in different forms, in different environments. So if you're here on Earth in this dimension and you look in the mirror and you see a human being looking back at you, then you incarnated specifically to learn something about the human experience. And if you're watching this video, it's a pretty safe bet that you incarnated to learn what it's like being a certain type of human being going through a certain type of spiritual awakening. But how come we're in a body if we're energetic beings? Well, this is a virtual environment, and our physical shells are the way we interface with it. In fact, the real world is the higher dimensions. It's this place which is artificial. Now, you'll hear some people talking about it as the Matrix on the internet, as though it's somewhere we're forced to come to and we should try to escape, but that is absolutely not the truth. We created it. We literally built this world data block by data block. So you are in a vast simulation which you helped to build and which you chose to come to carry out whatever mission you decided you wanted to complete in this lifetime. Okay, so how does this relate to spiritual awakening? Well, on one level, spiritual awakening is literally the process of remembering all of this. Remembering that we're souls or intelligences, remembering that we come from another place entirely, and remembering why we're here, why we incarnated, and what was it we came to do. And after that, it becomes the process of reaching our full soul potential, equipping ourselves to navigate this world as extra-dimensional beings so we can deliver our missions and quite literally help to transform the planet. So this leads me neatly to the 3 specific processes which take place during awakening. But very quickly before I talk about those, you might be wondering why you're going through a spiritual awakening. Why you? Why now? Well, the answer to this is actually pretty simple. It's just time. We are in a new age of enlightenment. We're right at the start of the Global Awakening Project, and a huge number of highly evolved souls like you volunteer to incarnate to road test the awakening process before we roll it out to the entire world. So you haven't done anything in particular that's caused your awakening. It was planned long before you incarnated, but you have created the conditions for it. Basically, you can't awaken by accident. The whole process is really closely controlled. Right, so the 3 processes which underpin spiritual awakening. If you are awakening, you're going through all of these simultaneously. They run side by side and they interact. So you can think of spiritual awakening as being modular rather than linear. Process 1 is a complete transformation of your mind and your consciousness. Now, this is a very noticeable aspect of awakening. The way your mind works and your sense of self change radically throughout this journey. The mind transformation is in itself a 3-step process. First of all, our earthbound soul, the bit that's incarnated to learn in this human body, is actually part of a larger entity, the oversoul, which we sometimes call the higher self down here. The seat of the earthbound soul is the conscious mind. It's right here. And the seat of the oversoul or the higher self is the superconscious mind. Now that is situated in the higher dimensions. And we experience the oversoul as the voice of intuition before our awakening. So stage 1 of the mind transformation process is to reintegrate these 2 parts of the mind. We build a data pipeline between the earthbound conscious mind and the superconscious mind in the higher dimensions. Along the way, we also progressively reduce the hold that our lower mind has on our overall system. That's the subconscious mind, which is the body, and the unconscious mind, which is the ego. And by the end of this process, all of these aspects of the mind are pretty well integrated, and we become driven by our higher self rather than the ego. Now, the second phase of the mind transformation process is that we upgrade our consciousness. The consciousness is actually a neutral tool which travels between all the different zones of the mind. And when we start to open up the superconscious mind by building this data pipeline, we also need to extend the consciousness so we can interface with it more completely. Finally, once we've reintegrated the conscious and superconscious minds and we've built this extra capability for our consciousness, the third part of this transformation is that we need to learn how to use all of this machinery we've built. We have to teach our consciousness to rise up and to stay risen up. Now, that's the process of ascension. That's a term that gets bandied about a lot. It's not really well understood at the moment. It's actually a very specific state of consciousness. You do not arrive at it accidentally. You have to work at it consistently for a very long time to maintain that elevation of consciousness. Although, of course, we dip in and out of it throughout the awakening journey. That's part of the experience that we have. If you're programmed to go to the end of awakening right now, not everyone is, but if you are, then ultimately this is the state you're trying to get to. You're trying to get to a state of what I call always on ascension. Now, that takes many years, but it is the most rewarding thing that you'll ever do. If you stick around to the end of the video, I'm going to give you one really simple way that you can work out where you are with the mind-based aspect of the spiritual awakening journey. Okay, so on to the second major process, which is taking place during spiritual awakening. This is an energetic process. It's more physical rather than mind-based. People tend to be biased either towards a more mind-based or a more physical awakening, and that can really dictate the way that you go through this experience. The energetic process covers both chakra rebalancing and Kundalini awakening. Now, the chakric and the Kundalini systems are separate, but they are interrelated. The chakras allow the flow of the 7 major energies of the universe to come through our bodies. They're superconductors. The Kundalini process actually increases the capacity of the chakras, so it kind of gives you an energetic boost. Now, some people's Kundalini awakens fully prior to their mind awakening, and this can be a very sudden, quite volatile experience. But often these two aspects just develop in parallel. Some of the work you do to reprogram the mind has a beneficial effect on the energetic system, and work you do on the energy side will help your mind develop, so it is very synergous. The ultimate goal of the energetic aspect of awakening is to firstly get your system into balance and flush out any blockages, and then secondly to increase the capacity of your chakras through the Kundalini experience so that you can literally be superpowered. You become able to hold and process an enormous amount of energy. And again, this is about reaching your potential. You're transforming into an awesomely powerful individual. The third process that we go through as part of awakening is the completion of 10 major learning modules. Now, there will be slight variations on this for individuals. Not everyone will get all 10 lessons to the same degree of intensity, is tailored to you. But by and large, these are the things that we all have to learn as part of awakening. Number 1, we learn to set boundaries. Number 2, we learn to control our emotions. Number 3, we learn to prioritize our dreams and do what we really want. Number 4, we learn to value ourselves correctly. Number 5, we develop our judgment. Number 6, we remember how to be completely self-sufficient. Number 7, we become resilient. Number 8, we learn how to forgive. Number 9, we learn how to be completely non-judgmental. And number 10, we learn non-attachment. Now, just because I've listed the lessons in a certain order doesn't mean that they'll come to you in that order, although typically they roughly do. But often several lessons are taught in parallel, and they'll also come around more than once. It's like a spiral. They get progressively harder, but because you're evolving, you become better able to handle them. By the time you've completed all your lessons and you've integrated the various parts of your mind and you've built a data pipeline back up to your higher self, you've rebalanced and boosted your energetic system, you are pretty much unstoppable. As long as you keep going with your spiritual practice, meditating every day, using your body, paying attention to what you eat, those kinds of things, then you are in the perfect position to fulfill your soul potential and deliver your mission. That's what it's really all about. So people who are awakening today are here to help transform the earth. Without wanting to sound overly dramatic, it is mission save the world, and you are part of it. And however unlikely that might sound to you right now, depending where you are in your journey, I promise you it is true. So finally, I told you I'd teach you a technique to work out how integrated your conscious and superconscious minds are. This is so simple, and it's something that every awakener should be doing on a regular basis. This is part of learning self-sufficiency. You basically are just going to ask your team for your statistics, your progress. Very specifically, you're going to ask them for a number. You ask, what percentage mind integration do I have right now? Then you just keep your mind still as you would in a meditation and let the number drop into your head. That's the answer. Because remember, your team is monitoring your progress constantly. As I said, everything's very closely controlled. So these numbers are out there. You just need to access them. And you can learn more about how spiritual awakening works in this playlist.